Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So here, let's translate what the Nier Reincarnation writers went over in the writers-only livestream. I'll say it up front, but if you are looking for earth-shattering, series-wide revelations, you won't find it here. The previous livestream had all of that, and I'll link to it below. But particularly, if you played Reincarnation and wanted more insight on secrets of the world or characters, and what went into making them, then this could be interesting. And I won't cover all of the questions that they answered. Like, somebody asked, what is Lars going to be like when he grows up? And I'm like, who cares? Okay, but question 1. Who is the superior in Girl Monster? And who is the deleted user in Sun Moon? This is the administrator girl in white. If we finish the game, then we know that she put into action Carrier and Papa and Black Mama, all with the goal of destroying the cage, like manipulating the travelers that go through the cage. Next, there is the question, why are the Dark Memory costumes black and white? And for some reason, they use this as a prompt to kind of talk about like the setting of various game modes, but kind of like talking about the world. And then a lot of these are like mobile game conventions, but they worked it so that it's like all kind of making sense within the world of Nier Reincarnation. Very kind of a funny and interesting extra step that they took. But as far as the gacha, the kind of the setting of the game is that our mobile phone that we have, all of us individually, is a cage with a personal mama to go with each. And then by pulling the gacha, what it's doing is it's gathering weapon story data from other worlds and times. Unfortunately, the technology is not there to kind of select what you want exactly. It's only able to access and gather weapon stories in a random fashion. So that's like how making even the randomness of the gacha work makes sense within the world. And then characters and costumes, when they appear, those are like representatives of the originators of the weapon stories. Like they are the owners or creators of the memories that are stored in the weapon stories. But those are more difficult to manifest, which is why not every weapon comes with a costume. And then the library button that exists in Nier Reincarnation, this represents the deepest parts of the cage where repaired memories are stored. And then Mama's room acts as the portal between the real world and the cage, and then it has accessibility to damaged parts of the cage through that center door. And then as far as battle and arena, characters are summoned to eliminate aberrations or invaders threatening the cage, and then the arena exists as a place where different mamas, kind of held by different players, they battle each other in order to gather data for like better battle techniques or setups or teams. So yeah, even PvP serves a purpose as far as like story. Okay, and then we have slide 2. They explain more of how different aspects of the game fit the other world and story. The Dark Memory costumes, these are like data gathered by a different method from the gacha, and then these are all the opposite color of the 2-star versions. So if the 2-star has kind of a white overall look, then the Dark Memory will have a black overall look. And then the Recollections of Dusk characters, these are similar to Dark Memory, a different method for gathering data, getting the costume or the character, but in accessing this powerful data, the pod undergoes kind of great stress, so a mock version of the character is summoned to kind of walk around and act as a buffer. And then character stories, these are like data from the past, just saved. Event quests are suddenly attacked previously stored data, and they are dangerous to handle, which is why they're kind of accessed through a different way, different from the main story. And then the secret stories are data hacked by 10H behind Mama's back. And then this data is not under attack, so that's why battle is not associated with these memories. It's just 10H accessing what she should not be accessing. Okay, next question. Are weapon stories drawn from the design of the weapons? And the writers said that the families of weapons are designed together and then released over time. And as those weapons are released, they have stories attached to them, which can be somewhat related. And also in designing the weapons, Yoko Taro said that he didn't want like very like silly, fancy, over-designed weapons, so most weapons are understated, maybe compared to other mobile games. Next slide is the Sino Alice library that appears in Nier Reincarnation, the actual Sino Alice library. They answered no, this is a data recreation of it. But they re-emphasized to go back to that area and read those books that we can pick up off the ground in order to get maybe more details for like why it exists there. Next question, someone asks, is there a special ending for collecting all the weapons? And the answer is no, and there are no multiple endings except for the end of Sun Moon. And they reiterated that Reincarnation is intended to be Nier 3, but they also wanted People World specifically to supplement Replicant and Automata. The head writer of People World said Replicant and Automata were thematically about changing the world through sacrificing what is valued most, while Reincarnation is about asking what does it take from us to want to change the world. Kinda sounds like the same thing to me, but whatever. Okay, next question, what does Demus's face look like under the bandages, and why does he wear bandages? The answer here, Demus is a hunk under the bandages, but he is quite scarred from battle. And he was discarded before having his scars fixed, and he wears the bandages to cover the scars so as to not alarm Leon. And I've never directly addressed this, but to the Japanese audience, there are strong homoerotic undertones to the relationship between Leon and Demus. It's never made explicit in-game, but it has certainly been made explicit in fan art, certainly more than I was ever interested in seeing. But the developers absolutely designed those two to encourage fans to go there in their minds. And then not answered in this live stream, but it is related, a viewer asked, is Leon secretly a girl? And the writers answered, no, he is not, he is a guy. Next question, does Gail have a happy ending? Answer, yes she does, if we look at her 10th and final secret story. I pointed this out in my Story Unlock guide, but unlike every other girl monster character, her true arc conclusion lies in her secret stories, not in the Recollections of Dusk, and I'll link to that Story Unlock guide below. The writers said they were also considering a sad ending for her, but they wouldn't reveal details about what that involved. Next question asks, are there more character profiles or more information beyond what was revealed in a series on Twitter? And yes, they have like in-house cheat sheets for reference, and they revealed Akiha's for the livestream. I saw this slide and I was like, ugh, I don't want to translate it. So I just put it through Google Translate, here we go. More interestingly is what the questioner was referring to, which were the periodic profiles of the characters showed on Twitter, where they talk about like hobbies or likes, and then I covered these in previous videos. I'll link to my coverage there. I made a new playlist collecting those. Next question, how were stories written for paired characters like 063Y and F66X? They were written together as if they were one entity, but with the Recollections of Dusk, they were able to go in different directions to show kind of a bigger picture. 063Y shows what would happen if they ran away from the world. F66X shows what would happen if they faced the flowers more head-on. I also said in my Story Unlock guide that with these paired characters, if you like one of them, it's very worth unlocking all of the other characters, since they're all sort of related together. Next question, who exactly is the One-Eyed Man in Griff's Recollections of Dusk story? Did he actually exist? I'm glad they answered this, because I want to do a Griff character analysis, but I have no plans to talk about that One-Eyed Man character, so I feel like this being here saves me the trouble. But the writer says it's up to the viewer to decide if the guy is really there, or just like a figment of Griff's imagination. But the writer did say that she wrote it with him really being there. You know, other people can see him and interact with him. But to Griff, he's kind of a representative of death, like a Grim Reaper. Depending on who is looking at the One-Eyed Man, he represents different things. Next question, does Noel's creation or birth have a relationship with Automata or Replicant? They do have an answer, but I'll save this for later. I would like to do a video on Noel, and that would be a good time to go into what was revealed here. And someone asks, on creating characters, what is the initial theme? For the answer, they started talking about Lavania and Fio, and she was saying if we compare Lavania, like his relationship with Fio and Carrier as they walk through the cage, and compare that to Lavania's dark memory story, his relationship with his coworker and boss, we can see a lot of similarities there. And they mentioned this before, but the bug monsters are like humans reborn, with an overwhelming urge left over. They are brought to the cage to atone for their sins. And the writer also pointed out that where the human Lavania character thinks certain things in the dark memory story, Lavania will actually say them in Girl Monster. And then the Sun Moon characters were written with conflict as the main theme, to mirror Yuzuki and Hina, as per Yoko Taro's request. Alright, next, what does Priet look like under the cloth? The writers answered that it's not actually decided. It's up to the interpretation of the player. I personally see her as extremely ugly. Ugly enough to make F66X gasp in shock and pity, as we saw in the dramatic recital. And a final question, which I will address here. How does 10H view the cage? The writers answered, they wrote 10H as the representative of the player in-game, and we can see that some of her reactions and interactions mirror ours. The head writer also said that at the climax of People World, it seems like 10H dies, and at that point, her role diverges from the player representative in-game, and then that is laid out in her secret stories, and the writers hope that we revisit these secret stories with that in mind. My gut reaction is that she moves from an observer to a creator role. Perhaps it is like maybe urging us to become creators as well, to evolve beyond being mere observers. Okay, but that is a quick and dirty translation of what went on in the writers-only livestream. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.